Anyways, welcome. Finally, we're getting to the actual letters from a skeptic. So last 2 weeks were just extra bonus, faith and doubt, and the problem with certainty was last week, and then the week before, how to disagree well, because we are going to be getting into topics that you will disagree with. And then today we are getting into this book, finally. I'll explain it a little bit more in a few seconds. But me and Adriel had this conversation. Do I have the clicker? Yes, I have the clicker, but I never grabbed it. So, letters from a skeptic. Why has Christianity done so much harm? I asked a few weeks ago in our beginning question, what is the kingdom? What does it mean? What does it look like? And how can we be a part of it? And really the best way and the way that the God is demonstrating his kingdom and bringing about his purpose is through the church. But there's one of the most challenging objections to the Christian faith, and that's not theological differences, that's not disagreements on topics and whatnot. What do you think the biggest hurdle for someone to enter the church is? It's the people in the church. Not here. Fear. Oh, yeah, here. Not here. Fear. This place exists. This church specifically. No, it's this understanding, this idea that the church is so difficult to be a part of because of the hypocrisy that happens within the church. And I can't say that it's completely wrong, but at the same time, I feel like there is some ideas that have been enhanced that makes and paints the church in a bad picture, but also at the same time, we've kind of painted ourselves into a corner in a lot of ways. The biggest reason why people leave the church is because of the church. So today is the first letter from Greg Boyd's dad to Greg Boyd. So this is a book called Letters from a Skeptic, and what this is 29 different correspondences between Greg Boyd and his atheist father. It's broken down into 4 sections: questions about God, questions about Jesus, questions about the Bible, and questions about the Christian life and doctrine. We're not going to cover all 29 in this series, but we'll get into a number of them before Easter. If you want to, our small group, we had a Thursday night small group last year. We did a few of these. We kind of walked through them a little bit. But also, I have a bustling library over there. You may have noticed that there's about 5 or 6 books just sitting there. You can borrow them if you want to, but you got to tell me if you're borrowing them, okay? You can't just take the books. Well, you can. But if you want to buy them, we can't do that. But I don't know how you'd do that. I'm not a bookstore. Yes. Oh, Alexandra is the librarian. Are you going to be our librarian? There you go. Hey, we got a librarian. Thank you very much. So, but this book, we have a couple copies of this book. I bought 4 copies of this because that's all that was left on Amazon. That's how popular this book is. But what it is correspondences between Greg and his dad. Actually started in 1989, went till 1993. Just back and forth, trying to have conversations about who Jesus is and asking all the very, very difficult questions about faith. And the very first question that his dad asks is, why has Christianity done so much harm? Straight out of the chute, he gets to the point. I did debate using this question because there is easy ways to kind of go around this question. We could just say, well, Christianity hasn't done the harm. It's the people within the church, or it's the people that are choosing, selfishness over other sides. Sin, basically, is what's happening. But since it's the number one question, and it is the reason why people leave the church, I thought it would be good to dive into it a little bit. The thing is, the church has really fallen short. I mean, from the beginning, we got the Crusades, we have the Spanish Inquisition, the slaughter of the indigenous communities, we have slavery, there's sex scandals, there's residential schools, and there's the abuse of power. There's a list, there's a long list of things that the church has really messed up on. But this isn't really just a church problem, this is a sin problem. This is just all over the world, not just within the church. But the church does get their name brought into this because of the way that we've conducted ourselves in the past. What we haven't done as a church is lean into who Jesus is. And who Jesus is the self-sacrificial love that he showed on the cross. When we forget about the self-sacrificial love that was for everyone, that is when the church goes wrong. The church is the bride of Christ, but at times the bride doesn't seem very worthy of the groom. Unfortunately, some of the most evil and demonic things have been by people inside the church claiming to be Christian. But that's the difficulty. This is not Jesus doing these things. This is just people that have fallen, that have made mistakes, that have been using the name of Jesus in a wrong way. So we have this understanding that people within the church have messed up, which is very clear. And then I said at the beginning, how is God's kingdom coming into this earth? It's going to come through the church. Why has God decided to use the church then? Because the church is so really messed up, but it's the bride of Christ. So do we talk negatively about it, or do we talk positively about it? Do we bury our heads in the ground, or do we look to see what hope there actually is within the church? See, the thing is, you think surely God knows better than to use the church, because Israel had its mistakes as well, and God would use Israel to show who God was, and they made a bunch of mistakes. And now the church is here, and this is happening again. There's a whole bunch of mistakes happening. Was God prepared for this? Is God making this happen? Does he know the future? We'll get into that in a few weeks. I would say that God's probably a little bit disappointed in some of the actions that have been done in his name, yes. But at the same time, I don't think it's productive to cast stones within the church to a certain extent. What I don't want this to be is a sermon, and as we get to the point of what it all is the church is actually really, really good. There is some things that we can't ignore. My son and I were doing a marathon. But it's not the kind of marathon that you might think. It's Lord of the Rings. Did you know that they are at the theaters this weekend? What? So Friday, I thought it was just Two Towers, and Eli and I, and Jeremy Crow, if you know Jeremy Crow and his kids, we went to the theater, and it was like, oh no, it was the Fellowship of the Ring. So we watched the extended version, 4 hours in the theater on Friday. Saturday, Two Towers. Today at 1:20 is The Return of the King. So we are hitting the theaters hard this weekend. We are in the middle of a marathon. And I got to be honest, my favorite of them is The Fellowship of the Ring. I love The Fellowship of the Ring. Rotten Tomatoes has it as the least reviewed one. I mean, they're all amazing, absolutely amazing. But I absolutely love The Fellowship of the Ring. And The Fellowship of the Ring, the reason why I love it is because there is these 9 people that come together from absolutely different walks of life, completely different ways of doing things, and they come together and they need to be unified to bring about the end of evil and the end of destruction. So they have to work together. But the problem is they come from absolutely different ways of thinking. We have Boromir, he has some issues, I tell you that. But he turns around at the end. We have Pippin, we have Frodo, we have Gimli. Gimli is my favorite. He is my favorite. The beauty of 9 different groups coming together to bring about evil is this unity and fellowship despite the obvious differences. It's a story of people coming together to do one thing, and that is what the church is supposed to do. We are supposed to be a group of people that come together to do one thing, not just Valley Road. Valley Road cannot be the only way that this world sees the renewal and the revival of Jesus. Can't be the only church that shares the love of God. We have a whole bunch, a myriad of beautiful churches in Kelowna that, yes, think differently than we do all the day. We don't always agree on things, but we stay unified, and we stay loving each other, and we stay encouraging each other, because all of the negative things that you've seen happen, most of them don't happen in churches that we've been to. We see it on the news. We see things happen, and yes, there has been certain things that we know of, But for the majority of our church experience, I want to think that it's been pretty good. But there has been some ugly. And so we can't bury our head in the sand, but at the same time, we need to understand that we need to be, as much as we can, a church that loves well. What's the mandate of the church? Matthew 5, 34, 35. We keep on going back into the Sermon on the Mount, even though we did that whole series. We're going to go back and do it a little bit today. He says, you've heard it said, love your enemies, love your neighbors, and hate your enemies. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you'll be children of your Father in heaven. He caused the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends the rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. That last verse is where I want to kind of sit today. The sun hits those who it hits. The rain falls on who it will fall. The Father loves indiscriminately. This is the call of the church, to love indiscriminately. When we do love with discrimination, then we will fall into the traps. But if we love indiscriminately, and if we love all and just shower people with love, then we will start to get things right. Issues have arrived when churches have decided to become the gatekeepers of love. Loving with strings attached, baiting and switching people. Love based on agreements or disagreements. That's where we get into trouble. The cross is defined and describes the love of God. On the cross, Jesus showered those who hurt him with forgiveness. Immediately he said, forgive them. He didn't say forgive one person there. He didn't say forgive one person. He blanketed them with forgiveness. Showered them all. Whether or not they accepted the forgiveness or not, there was a showering of forgiveness. Jesus didn't take time to decide who was worthy of it or who did what. It was a blanket of forgiveness. Just like the rain falls and the sun shines, when the sun shines, it doesn't shine on only a select few people. It shines on the whole earth. Everyone is affected by the sun, the evil and the good. The sun is a beauty. It's for everyone. Whether or not you accept the sun or not, whether or not you accept that or not, it's going to hit everyone. And just like the rain falls, it falls everywhere. God what I believe this verse is saying is that love your enemies, love your neighbors, love everyone, throw tons of love out there, allow it to be like the sun that hits everything, and allow people to accept or not accept it. Allow it to be like the rain that brings freshness and beauty to the whole entirety of creation, and whether or not people accept it or not, that is on them. But we need to be, as a church, people that love without discrimination. Always putting our best foot forward to love as Jesus loved. Showering them from his life, death, and resurrection. That was for all. So what are we known for? What are we as Valley Road Church going to be known for? Where are we at? If you were with us at the beginning, I kind of said that I want eventually Valley Road to be like a piece of furniture. When I was in England, I was privileged to be able to work in 3 schools: Ridgewood, and that's what they said. Sorry, you wouldn't get that. Ridgewood, Old Kingswinford, and Red Hill. That was the one. And I would go into Ridgewood. It was one that I went into. Well, I went into all of them all the time. But there was a lady, Bev Holt. She was the head. Is it called the head mistress? Is that what we? Yes, she was a head mistress there. And she was absolutely fantastic. And she brought me in to do assemblies and to do programs. But eventually, they started to go to Africa on trips every year, and they would want to bring me just to be a kind of a spiritual counsel. I'm like, sure, I'll just sit around the pool, and if any kids have problems, you can come talk to me. Awesome. It was a great job. So I went 3 times to Africa with them, and it was amazing how much relationship I could have with the school. When we ended up having to leave the country, I remember talking to Bev, and she said to me, she said, you leaving is like missing a piece of furniture. Now, you didn't really know that you had, but now that you're leaving, there's a big piece of us missing that was a big comfy couch that was kind of for everyone. And that's what I want us to be, is if we ever were to leave, like I think if we left now, Valley Road, if we left Glenmore now, I don't know if there would be much impact, but that's okay because we're just starting out. We are just at the beginning of who we are. I hope that there's some kind of impact, but eventually I want this place to be a place where people know, come to, and call upon when they need safety and love and life. We can be and do our little bit of a part to restore the name of the church in Glenmore. I would love that. I don't take the term pastor, like I mean, when people call me Pastor Jordan, I was like, that's a bit weird to me. But I've told a few people this lately. I'm like, I wouldn't mind being called vicar. I think a vicar would be a cool name. How embarrassing, hey? Vicar would be so cool. Because what a vicar is it's in the village, it's in the area that they know they can go to have some kind of, but I think it would be better if it wasn't just me that was the vicar, if all of us were the vicar. The vicars of Glenmore, or the vicars of our workplace, or the vicars of our school, or the vicars of our houses. We are all the vicars of everything that we do because people will come to us for that peace and that love, not necessarily that we have this unbelievable amount of wisdom, but that we have a care for our world, and we are known as the big comfy couch, the vicar. That could be a TV show. The comfy couch vicar, I don't know how it works. But we want to be known for loving. We want to be known for caring. We want to be known for making the community better. And if we were to leave, the community would be at a loss. And that is our goal as a church. And that should be, and I think that is the goal for all churches, especially in Kelowna. I really do believe that they want to make an impact and love the community. The Barna Group put out, if you've heard of the Barna Group before, they put out statistics, and usually every year they'll do a poll that says what is the church known for? So it kind of lists, they kind of poll everybody and say, what do you think the church is known for? And this is America, clearly. You're going to find out in a second. But what the church is known for is that they are Republican, or that they are Second Amendment, right to bear arms, all of these things. And it kind of goes down the list that it says things that are maybe divisive issues. And actually, I don't even necessarily mind that the church is known to have people. What is most disappointing is what's not on the list. In the top 20 results of what the church is known for, not one of those results is to being a loving, caring, kind community. That's not what the church is known for. The church is known for a whole bunch of things that are divisive, for opinions and all of those things, which you can agree or disagree on the opinions. That doesn't actually really matter. The fact that all the way down, not even on the list, is the fact that the church is known to have love for fellow mankind. That's not even on there. Seems to tell me that we have gone a little bit astray. If the number one attribute of the church was its love of enemies and the care for the poor and the attention given to the marginalized, the rest of the issues would fall into place. Not even thinking about one political issue or violence issues, but if we were to demonstrate love well, everything else would be fine. Even if people had this strong desire to have a right to bear arms, which I have barely touched a gun in my life, except for once or twice, in a very controlled area. But if we had this distinction of people loving, of being a people that love people and put other people's needs ahead of us, it doesn't matter the other things that happen in there, because number one would be that, and we would do everything else filtered through love. So if people ask me if I'm a Christian, if they say, are you a Christian? It's like, it used to be a pretty easy answer. Yeah, I'm a Christian. But now it's like, are you a Bible-believing Christian? Do you go to a Bible-believing church? I'm like, yeah, I think so. I don't know. Like, what? I don't know. Are we not Bible-believing? I think we are. Are you born again, saved, Holy Ghost filled? I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of language in those askings. So what I try to do is be like, hey, maybe let's have a discussion of what you mean by Christian, first of all, because if I just attach myself to, American evangelical Christianity, that has some connotations in it right now. But perhaps it's like, hey, can I just maybe offer to you that I'm a Jesus follower? I try to do what Jesus does. I try to be who Jesus is in my circumstances in my life. And I will get it wrong sometimes, but I try really hard to be like Jesus. Can I make the distinction that way? Because there's a lot that goes on. If I speak in tongues of men or angels, but I do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Or the samba. The samba this morning? Was that the samba that we were playing this morning? If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge and have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardships so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. All those attributes in there can make a mega church, can make the biggest, most amazing church. But if we don't have love to go along with it, we have nothing. If we don't have love, we have nothing. The middle part of that, if I have the gift of prophecy, if I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge and have the faith that can move mountains, that is going to bring the masses. But if it comes without love, if there is no beauty of love within those moments, we have nothing, because we need to love and live like Jesus. Loving in a sacrificial and forgiving and far-reaching love, that the Son touches everyone, that is how we need to live. Because love is patient. Pip. This is why I struggle with this message. I don't want it to come across heavy-handed on churches that maybe aren't like us or have had a bad rap in the news. I can say with confidence that churches in Kelowna come across and they do their very best. We are all trying to do our very best. We have disagreements, but that's not the entirety of the story. The unity and the fellowship of the ring was what was most important. So, people calling them Christians, we need to live in this world where we are unified, not tearing each other down. The biggest impact of that first book was of that first movie was when Pip would just do so many stupid things. Like, the rule was never say Bilbo Baggins' name. Don't say his name. Not Bilbo, Frodo Baggins. Never say his name. They got to the Pony Horse Pub or whatever at the beginning. Oh, there's Frodo Baggins right there. And then, of course, then the ring wraiths come and then stuff starts to happen. People die. And then they go up to the Mount Moria, and then don't throw anything in the water. He throws something in the water, and then this big creature comes out of the water, chases them into the mountain of Moria. And then they're all standing around after they see all the dwarves have perished in a war, and there's this dead dwarf on a well. There you go. Thank you. On a well, and he knocks it over, and the dwarf falls down the well, banging. And then the marching of all the orcs comes. Because he just made a whole bunch of stupid mistakes. And then this big demigod thing comes, and eventually Gandalf dies. Spoiler alert. He just keeps on making mistakes. But never once did they throw him out of the Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, my nerddom is not good. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff, but I really like the movies. And so, but they don't throw him out of the fellowship. They get frustrated. They're like, oh, Pip, why are you doing this? But they don't throw him out of the fellowship. They still protect him. They still love him. They know that he's one of the weaker ones, but they still care for him. And there's a lot of things that we need to do is that if we see somebody within our church that is struggling, we need to protect them and care for them and love them. If there's a church that isn't quite pulling their weight in a certain way, it's not best of us to kick them out and say, go away. It's best for us to love them and care for them and bring them into the fold. But there are some limits. Like there's some really rough stuff going on in the world. And in the name of Jesus, it's unfair. I don't like it. So we have this verse. If your brother or sister, If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. And if they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter will be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. And if they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen, even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. And I kind of think about this in the ways of churches. If churches or if Christians within the church are starting to treat enemies poorly, if they are starting to treat loved ones poorly, if they are starting to make other people less than image bearers, and they're continually doing this, talk to them, speak to them, encourage them, say, hey, look, this is not what we do. But eventually, we have to put a stop. Because there's some really rough things that are happening. And it's just not Christian. It's just people that are doing things that aren't Christian at all. Like back to the Crusades. Back to the Spanish Inquisition. Those things, even though they were done in the name of Jesus, they were clearly not in the name of Jesus. And we have to have our limits. As a church, if people don't love and people don't care for people and people are hurting other people, we say, hey, look, that's not what we do here. We don't treat people poorly. We don't treat people like objects. We treat them as image bearers. And we confront them and we challenge. And then it says there at the end that you throw them out. The reason why you do that is so that they can go and be evangelized and be saved again. That's why you throw them out to the side, so you can go and you can tell them about Jesus and they come back. So, 3 things to think about. God knows what he is up to, and nothing surprises him. God is using the church, and he has a plan. It might be a bit confusing. What are you doing, God? Why are you using the church? Why are you using this little group of people that come together every Sunday morning to bring your kingdom into this world? Well, he does that because he has a purpose, because he knows what he's doing. All seemed lost when Christ was crucified on the cross, and there was something that looked like there was all, but everything was gone, everything was lost, and it looked like God had lost. But he still won in the end. The victory still came. There is no plan B. The church is plan A, to bring God's kingdom into this world. And when it looks like all is lost, God says, you know what? This is not good, but we are going to make this work. So let's make this work. God has always used the foolish things to confound the wise. For now we see not only a reflection in a mirror, but God always uses this. But God chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of this world to shame the strong. Yeah, we're a bit foolish sometimes. We're a ragtag bunch of people that come together on Sunday morning, but he is going to use us to bring about his kingdom. And we are just the first fruits. For now I see only a reflection as in a mirror, then we will see him face to face. Now I know in part, then I will know fully, even as I am fully known. Revelations 21, verse 1 to 4. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. He will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, for the old order of things have passed away. We are the bride of Christ. Stop to think about that. How are we the bride of Christ? How are we worthy of being the bride of Christ? Well, we are. And the rest of the church is. So when there's a temptation to speak bad about the church, maybe we think to ourselves, hey, this is the bride of Christ. But at the same time, we are the first fruits of what's going to happen. When there's an opportunity to visit someone in the hospital, We do that because this is what the kingdom is going to be like when there's no more pain, no more tears. When we have a chance to encourage someone struggling and love like Jesus, we do that. When we have the opportunity to make our community and our city a better place, to make it look a little bit more like the kingdom, we do that because that is what we are called to do, is to be the first fruits of the kingdom. When we have an opportunity to make this 2 square kilometers around us in Valley Road a better place, a more Christ-like place, we do that because we are projecting what it's going to be like when the kingdom comes. We aren't the completed product. We're not the finished product, but we are a part of the plan that God has to bring his kingdom. And how could I finish this service without one more line from Lord of the Rings? The end of the 2 towers, I've said this, I use this. I could use this every service, this quote. Frodo and Sam, as they're about to embark on Mordor, Frodo says, "I can't do this, Sam." Sam says, "I know, it's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. Sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad has happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clear. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were far too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in these stories had a lot of chances to turn back, only they didn't. They kept going because they were holding on to something." Frodo says, "What were they holding on to, Sam?" "That there was some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, that it's worth fighting for. There is good in this world that's worth fighting for. And there's really good churches. There's really good churches around the world. There's a lot of bad press about the church right now. Let's take that press and turn it around and be like, hey, the church is a beautiful, good bride of Christ. Take care of the messy, the ugly. Just say like, hey, let's deal with it when we have to. But look at the positives. Look that the church has done a lot of good in this world. The church started hospitals. The church ended slavery, even had a part of it. The church has done so much. Donations by people in the church are higher than any other group of people in the world. We do.